Welcome back to the Catnip Podcast. My name is Grace. Today is Friday, September... I literally just looked at the date and I forgot what it was. September 29th, which is crazy because it feels like it was just August and now it's basically October. So where has September gone? I don't know. That's crazy. This is a podcast about knitting and spinning and baking and reading, and today we have some other fun non-fibery things that are not normal to what I usually talk about. That was a very convoluted way to say that. In other words, I went on an adventure last weekend and I want to tell you guys about it. So that will be happening. Like always, you can find all the various show notes and links to things that I talk about. They will be on my blog, or if you are on YouTube, they'll be linked down below. There are all my various social medias that you can go and follow me on. I am most active on Instagram, but there is Twitter, Facebook, Ravelry, and Instagram. There's also a podcast group on Ravelry if you'd like to go and join. I am terrible at posting in, but if you'd like to go and join it, you're more than welcome to. If you go to Ravelry, and click on the groups tab and search the Catnip Podcast, it should pop up. And then there's also an online yarn store where you can buy some yarn that I've hand dyed, and that is thecatnityarns.bakecartel.com. I was gone last week. And also I just needed a little break, and so I did that, and it was wonderful, but I'll talk about that in a little bit, so the intro isn't super long. But yes. So, yeah, just to avoid long intros, let's just cut it off here and we'll talk about everything in the actual episode. So, if you'd like to grab some tea or coffee or water or whatever, hot or cold beverage, snack, whatever, and maybe some craftiness, and you can come back and join me for some crafty chat. So I do apologize for last week, in fact, that there was no episode at all. I just really had lost my knitting mojo, and also I had only been knitting on one thing and I couldn't really show it to you because it was the test knit because it needed to get done. And also there was a work event that my husband got invited to, and I was able to go along and stay at the hotel that he was in, which then resulted in a very unexpected adventure on my part, so that's very exciting. Which I keep having foreshadowing to. I will explain what it is in a moment, but before we get on with any kind of podcasting things, we'll just start with the basic, what I always talk about at the beginning, the weather. Let's just say that today is probably like the first day of fall-like weather, and I love it so much. I just can't get over it. The high today is maybe like in the mid to low 70s, which is insane. That's awesome, and it's rainy, and so it's just like my perfect kind of weather. If it was colder, I wouldn't complain, but I will take what I can get because it's better than 80, 90 degrees, whatever. It is wonderful. This morning I sat out on our balcony and I read and did my devotional, and I knit, and it was wonderful. I loved it so much. I had my tea, it was raining, I was snuggly, it was great. I loved it. So that is the weather discussion. It is supposed to get hot again sometime next week, unfortunately. Like 90 degrees, which is so sad. It's so sad. But it's supposed to then cool down back to the mid to low 80s. So that's something. We're getting fall weather kind of a little bit. So hopefully we'll get more actual fall weather soon. Fingers crossed. I don't know if that's actually gonna happen, but let's hope. Let's hope. So moving on into knitting, because that is what this podcast is about. I'm going to talk about my adventure at the very end of the podcast, and I'm recording this after having recorded all of that, so this might be a little wonky, but hopefully this will all make sense. I recorded it. I'm going to stick it at the end because I realized that not everyone would necessarily be interested about that. So if you're interested to learn about what the adventure was, basically it is StyleCon. It was a blast. I might have sent a lot of Snapchats during it. So that was a thing that really that happened a lot. But if you're interested in that, you can stick around to the very end, just because knitting is the most important thing here, and we're going to talk about that first because that is the priority. So yes, but first we're going to have a tea break because I've been talking for a while and we're going to just relax. So first off, I do want to mention this test knit that I have been working on. I finished it. It was wonderful. Before the deadline, which I feel really good about, and I have a little bit extra yarn, but the pattern has not come out yet. This is my extra yarn. The pattern has not come out yet. I think it might actually be coming out today on Friday the 29th. If not, it'll definitely be out tomorrow. I think that's what she said. So, if it's not up today, by today, or by the time this podcast goes up, I will include the link to it in next week's show notes for you if you guys are interested. And then by next week I'll be able to show you the whole shawl. So that's exciting. But right now I can't show it to you because it's still kind of like drying a little bit, so that's important. And the rain doesn't really help the drying process, so we need to let it dry. All that jazz. But this pattern I tested it for Charlotte Bory, which was super wonderful. I really enjoyed knitting it. I would make another one in a heartbeat. I would highly recommend it to not necessarily beginning brioche knitters, but if you know the basics and you're willing to try something new, by the end of it you will be a pro at increases and decreases, because I am now a pro at increases and decreases, so that's super exciting. I am looking forward to making more brioche things in the future that are a little bit more fancy. The yarn was super wonderful. We got to use Cosmic Strings, which I have never used before. It's based out of Edinburgh, and it's just a wonderful yarn to work with. I highly recommend it. This color is called Misty, which that's relatively accurate. It's a little bit more bluey, but it's a very beautiful mauve rose color. And then the second color, my contrasting color, was this, which was called Marshmallow, which is super cute. It's just basic cream with a lot of different speckles. So I was so excited with how it turned out. And yeah, I'm very excited to wear it, and I'm really excited to show it to you guys. So I'll let you guys know when that comes out, and yay for test knitting. So that has taken up most of the knitting time for this current week, except for yesterday, in which I knit on one thing, and one thing that I haven't knit on in forever. But I have gotten some other knitting done, which I will get to show you. I really feel like my knitting mojo is coming back. I'm really excited about that. There's something about, like, when you have a deadline and you're a little behind on what you were thinking you were going to be, or you know that you need to get it done before a certain time, it kind of like, it doesn't put a damper on your other knitting, but it just kind of like, in my mind, or me personally, I'm just like, I gotta get this done. Work first, play later. And because knitting is knitting and you can always like keep on making progress, it's kind of, for me, it was just kind of like, well, I just gotta keep on working on this until it's done, and then I can do something fun. Which was very important considering I cut it pretty close with the deadline. Not gonna lie, but that's okay. We got it done. It's all fine. But my knitting mojo is back. There are so many things that I want to knit. I want to make like a Fair Isle yoke pullover or a cardigan. I want to make one of those so bad. Like, the urge is so intense. And every time I see one on Instagram, because they're all over Instagram right now, every time I see one, I'm like, that's another one I need to knit. Gotta put it on the list. Another thing I want to make is I just want to cast on another Stephen West shawl. I don't know what it is. I saw a beautiful mocket that was posted earlier today I don't remember who posted it, but I'm going to look it up, and then I'm going to link it in the show notes because it was beautiful. So this smocket was posted by, I don't think I'm going to get this name right, but I'm going to try it just in case I do. Her name is Ann Miwi _ all things creative. She just knits beautiful things in general. I love her color sense of style. Does that make sense? I love the colors she puts together. Let's just say that. I will definitely link this picture in the show notes because, goodness gracious, it is beautiful. It's just like yellows and pinks and yellows, and it's gorgeous. So I want to make a smocket. I want to make the new garter version of the Daybreak, which I think he called the Pearl Break. I want to make one of those. Also, his brand new mystery knit along came out today on Friday, or yesterday because you watch this on Saturday. It came out today, and I watched his video for Clue 1, and it looks just amazing, and like, he's just so inspiring, and I want to make all of his things. I just want to cast on all the things. I'm really excited about that. I want to cast on a cabled sweater. So many options. My knitting mojo is back. I just want to knit all the things. There's just not enough time. Not enough time, and it doesn't get cold enough. That is the other issue. Oh well. We'll just knit things anyway and pretend that it gets cold. How about that? That sounds like a good idea. Okay, so moving on to things that I have been working on that I can show you. First off is something that I have not showed you in a very long time. But I think I mentioned that I was going to be working on this for a stash dash. That never happened. So, I'm going to show it to you now. And this is very simple. It's literally just a knit tube, but it's fun. So, I think I pulled this out earlier for some like demonstration about what a sock blank is, because the sock was not sock blank. Sock blank, blah blah blah. Anyway, so this is the Sockhead Cowl by the same lady who did the Sockhead hat, and I can't remember her name right now, but it will be linked in the show notes. It's a free pattern, so I'm not giving away any secrets. It's literally like however many inches of ribbing, then however many inches of just plain knitting, and then you do a little bit more ribbing at the end. And this is, it's super fun yarn, but also this is a special project to me because this was my beach knitting during our honeymoon back in January, so, and plain knitting as well. So it's very special, and I really am excited about getting this done. This is knit off of a sock blank, and this yarn is also special because I love the dyer behind it. This is Straightened Dye Works. This is dyed by Amy, who also has a Straightened podcast, which is also very wonderful. This was part of her sock blank club, so this colorway I think was just available in the sock blank club, but she has so many other fun colorways. I highly recommend you going and checking them out. So what a sock blank is, if you do not know, it is literally like a piece of already knit fabric that the dyer then dyes as a piece of knit fabric, and then you knit from it. So I'm literally just pulling from it when I need yarn. Which is super fun because that means that the colors end up all jumbled and they knit up really cool. So, super fun. This has been the best, like, distraction, mindless knitting ever because, so first of all, I knit on it when we went to Tulsa a couple weekends ago to celebrate a wedding reception for my cousin, which was so much fun, but some of the driving was done in the dark, and so I needed something that I couldn't, or I wouldn't necessarily need to look at my hands. So this was like, it's just literally knitting around and around and around and around. So that was good. I got a lot of progress then. And then earlier, we went to go see It. And I am not necessarily a fan of, I like being scared, but I'm not a fan of like that kind of scary, so I was not really a fan of it. It was not my cup of tea. But that's fine, it's personal preference. If that's what you like, that's awesome. Go you. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a very like well-made movie. It's probably one of the most well-made movies I've ever seen, but I just didn't like it. So I'm glad I have my knitting because I could look at that for a lot of the parts that I didn't want to observe because we were also very close to the screen. So I got so much done during that because I think I was knitting the entire time. I didn't stop knitting. Normally I'd take a break at some point during a movie knitting wise, but I didn't because I just needed to be distracted and it turned out great. So I'm moving along very well with this. I'm very excited to wear it. I love these colors. So this is the Sockhead Cowl. The name will be in the show notes. I do apologize if I forgot it. And then the yarn is Stranded Dye Works sock blanks. So highly recommend both of these things. Today was very badly organized. I have not done a lot of the research that I needed to do beforehand, but that's okay. So we're doing it in between. But just as long as we get it all done, that's all that really matters. Okay, so the second thing that I have been working on is my Hadfield hat by Pam Allen. And this is this beautiful fisherman's knit hat. I'm so excited about wearing it. This is a Quince & Company yarn. This is in the Phoebe base. And this is the color Mercury. That is very accurate. It is gorgeous. I love it so much. So this is going very well. I knit several rows on it a couple days ago, and the thing about fisherman's rib and also brioche is that it just takes forever because you basically have to knit the same row twice. I don't know if that's how it works for fisherman's rib necessarily, but that's how it is if you're doing a 2-color brioche. It takes forever, so long. The end product is definitely worth it, I will say that, but it does take a long time. So I have to knit 9 inches ish, I think, and then I get to do decreases and then I'll be done. So I'm getting much better at the fisherman's rib. I remember last time I showed this to you guys, I mentioned that I couldn't do it without looking at what I was doing. But with practice and testing my knitting abilities, I have been able to figure out what it feels like and what it should, my motions that I should do when I'm not looking at it. So I've gotten much better at not looking at it. I will have to look down occasionally, but I'm very proud of myself. I am very proud of myself. So this is very wonderful, a good knit. Highly recommend it. This bag is a Stitch by Jess Lou bag that I've had for forever. I love it. It's the best. I love all of her bags. Highly recommend this hat pattern, highly recommend this yarn, and I highly recommend these bags. So, just high recommendations all around. So wonderful. So thirdly and finally for my knitting this week, this is what I worked on yesterday. And I don't know what made me think about this, but I just decided to pull it out and work on it. I have not showed this to you guys in forever. I don't remember the last time that I showed it to you, but I've gotten a lot of progress since I showed it to you, that's for sure. You might recognize this sleeve. It's now done, so that's great. This is the Brecken sweater by Amy Christophers, or Christophers, whichever one it is, I don't know, but I have finished the sleeve, and I have like long sleeves on, so I can't push it all the way up, but I have the sleeve cap. That's great. I have finished one sleeve. It is wonderful. Yay me. And my plan was to knit one sleeve, then knit the body, and then knit another sleeve. So my cat is running around very crazily, and I don't know why. Birdie! who knows. Knit one sleeve, then knit the body, and then knit the other sleeve so I wouldn't get bored of the sleeves. We'll see how that goes. I finished one sleeve, so that was wonderful. Yes, I don't know how the second... He's just going crazy. I don't know how the second sleeve is going to go, just because I took such a long break in between. I kind of had a little difficulty figuring out where I was in the pattern, shaping-wise, which... I knew that I had finished all the decreases and all that kind of stuff, but in regards to the sleeve cap and stuff. So we'll see how that goes. I have no idea. It is, I will say, it is kind of a challenging, in my mind it's a little daunting to like keep this stitch pattern consistent when you have decreases and stuff. You do have to be very mindful of that, especially when you're decreasing or increasing, obviously. When you're changing stitch counts, there are going to be either less stitches or more stitches when you have to factor those into the stitch pattern, which if you mess this up, it's going to be pretty obvious. And I actually have one row that's like a little bit longer than the others because I just couldn't figure out how to fix it. So I was just like, okay, well let's just have this be a 3-row instead of a 2-row. So yeah, so if you are interested in making the sweater, just keep that in mind. So yes, one sleeve is done. That is great. In a minute, I will talk about the yarn, but I want to show you my progress. I did cast on the body. Yay me. And I cheated, and I tied 2 ends together right here because I ran out, because I literally had like this much left after casting on this much that I was missing out of my tail. So I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna rip that out, I'm just gonna add a little bit on, and then I left the ends long enough so I could weave them in. So, and it's at the bottom, it's not gonna show, it'll be fine. I know this may bug some people, but at that point I was like, nope, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna have a tin gun moment because this is just, I'm not ripping this out. So yes, I'm just doing now ribbing until the end of time, which is not really the end of time, but it just seems like at the end of time because there's so many stitches on these needles. So that's okay. It'll be fine. I am excited to see how this is going to turn out. I'm looking forward to doing something different besides the stitch pattern on the sleeves, so that is very exciting. And just setting things up for a sweater because that's just a lot of fun. I started my next ball of yarn, so that's also very exciting. I think while I continue doing the ribbing, because there is so much of it, that'll be a good knit and read situation. I have not been reading very much recently. I have been listening, but I have not been reading very much. So hopefully I'll get back on board with that. To go over the yarn, I'm using Knit Picks palette in the Tea Rose colorway. Can we focus? Can we focus, please? Ta-da! There we go. So yes, palette in Tea Rose. I don't know about you, but for me, I will, if I get yarn for a sweater, I will like take what I need and then kind of like put the rest away so I can like come back to it and get it. So I'm not like toting around 5 balls of yarn at once. That is just how I do things. But because of the state of this current room and just like unpacking and putting things away and then like things getting moved, I was a little worried I wasn't going to be able to find the other skeins of this yarn, which would have been so bad. Like, I've gotten this recently. This is not an old, it's a couple months old, but it's not like super old. So like the yarn should have been very easily accessible. And so last night I finished the sleeve and I had one skein. I had the one that I just finished and then an extra skein in the bag that I was using, and I was like, I I should probably locate these other skeins just to make sure I know where they are, so I'm not like freaking out about it. And after much digging, I did find them. I was a little worried after I had dug through several bags, and I was like, I can't find it. Where is it? Thankfully, I found it. So, it was underneath a sweater that needs to be frogged and repurposed. So, that's cool. I was very glad to find these because that would have been very, very sad. So yes, this is the Brecken sweater by Amy Christophers. I'm using Knit Picks palette in the Tea Rose colorway. I can't speak about the body of the cardigan yet, but the sleeve was actually a lot harder than I expected, or it was just more complicated because of the stitch pattern that you have to keep consistent throughout the increases and decreases of the sleeve. So this is a very, I would say it's an adventurous knit, or for more experienced knitters. So yes, I'm excited to see how it turns out. I think it'll look really good after good blocking, so I'm excited to see how that looks. So yes, as for reading and stuff, I haven't really been doing a whole lot. Listening wise, nothing is super exciting. It's mainly just stuff at this point, so I have things going on in the back of my mind, or I can hear while I do stuff. So yes, I am looking forward to reading more soon and just like knitting more, and maybe eventually casting on a Stephen West shawl or figuring out yarn for it, or I don't know. I want to see how the new Mystery Knit Along looks, the Speckle and Pop. That's his fall 2017 Mystery Knit Along. And this is actually the first one that I am not doing in a long time, so I feel kind of left out. I'm like, I really want to, but also I have so many things on the needles, and like color choices are kind of stressful sometimes, so I don't want to put that pressure on myself right now because I just have so many other things that I need to finish. So I need to do that. Once I see what it looks like, the mystery part is not like super important to me. It is very cool, but it's not like, oh my goodness, I love this, I want to keep everything a secret. If I'm doing it, I'll keep it a secret, but right now I'm just kind of like, I would kind of like to see what it looks like before I cast it on, just in case I'm not a super huge fan of what it looks like. But it's Stephen West, so like, how can you not like what it looks like? Anyway, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I'll keep you guys updated about that. Also, another thing that needs to start happening is Christmas crafting and knitting and everything like that. I've made my list. I have everyone that needs a gift I've decided what I'm going to do for them, so that's exciting. It's just a matter of getting what I need and getting started on it. Which, yeah, it just needs to happen. I need to bite the bullet and just start. Thankfully, a lot of it will be using my stash, which is great. Not this stash necessarily. Some of it will, but most of it will be like, it needs to be workhorse yarn, which will be knit picks in this case. So that's exciting. I'm glad to be knitting from my stash and just using all that stuff up. So yes, depending on what I'm knitting on or what I'm making, I may or may not show it to you, just in case the recipients are watching. You probably know who you are. Family members, you know who you are. So I might keep that on the down low. But other than that, if I know for a fact they don't want to watch the podcast, I'll be showing what I'm making. So that is super exciting. That is stuff to come. Hopefully, I probably should start on it this coming week, but we'll see how that goes. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Baking wise, I haven't really been baking just because I was working on the test knit and I didn't really have a whole lot of time, and other things took priority, like doing the laundry. That's kind of important. Washing the dishes, that's also kind of important. Sifting the kitty litter. So baking kind of took a back burner, took the back seat. Wasn't a top priority, let's just say that. But I just found a recipe from one of my favorite, like, blogger, recipe, cooking, baking persons. I also on her Instagram. She posted a picture of her soft peanut butter chocolate chunk cookies, which again is a very long name, but like, does that not sound amazing? Like, just right now, I'm not particularly hungry, but like, if I had some, I'd probably go and have one. That sounds so good. The only problem is I don't have creamy peanut butter, and I don't have like a bar of chocolate, which is one of the things that you need. So I don't know how I'll handle that. I might make a run to the store. I don't know, but we will see. I will link that in the show notes. Although I can't speak to the recipe, I'm sure it is amazing. I hopefully will be making that sometime in the near future, so that is exciting. So, this adventure that I keep alluding to, that I have made reference to at least twice so far, and have not mentioned what it is very exciting. If you are a watcher of the Fat Squirrel Speaks podcast, which I have mentioned many a time, and is one of my all-time favorite knitting podcasts, if you don't watch her, I highly, highly recommend her. Her name is Amy Beth, and she is hilarious, and she's just so sweet, so wonderful. Never met her, but I love her as a human being. She is wonderful. Highly recommend the podcast. But in the beginning of each of her episodes, she has a section called Shenanigans, which I think is very cute. She just talks about like things that have happened during the span of time between episodes, whether it's like apple picking or like bread making or whatever. It's very fun. So to use her name of the segment, my shenanigans for this past couple weeks have been quite wonderful. So while my husband was doing football A&M things with his work buddies and stuff, my original plan was to stay in the hotel room, catch up on Project Runway, knit a lot, watch the football game on the TV, maybe find some tea, I don't know. I was going to be very like chill. I might have been planning to do a face mask, I don't know. It would have been in the hotel room the entire day. Super cool, got a lot of knitting done, excuse me. So my husband and I had breakfast together, and then he left, and as I was going back upstairs to our room, I entered the elevator, as one normally does if you were in a hotel and you are on a higher floor. I got into the elevator, and in came a bunch of girls and all of them had these big, massive, that's redundant, big, massive, large pink plastic bags that on one side said StyleCon on them. And they were, they were very loud, but they were very sweet, they were very kind, they were like, just very chatty, happy. Some of them were looking through their bags that they had gotten and pulling out things that were in there. And obviously there was a StyleCon going on. I didn't know anything about it, I didn't know where it was, I didn't know if it was happening today, or not today, but then that day or the next day. And so once I got back to my room, I Googled it, and I was like, is there a StyleCon going on nearby? Is it like, when is it happening? That's kind of cool. There were mention of like people in the elevator being YouTubers, so I did some digging and found their YouTube channels, which was super cool. And I was talking to my mom and my sister about it, which was super fun. And my sister asked if there was a possibility that I could go, and I was like, I don't know how this kind of stuff works. I've never been to any kind of con, whatever, VidCon, Playlist Live, all those kinds of cons, StyleCon, all those kinds of things, you know what I'm talking about. I've never been to one of those, and I also didn't know how expensive the tickets were, so I just kind of wrote it off as like not a possibility. Also, I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue to stay in the hotel room, because I like knitting and just relaxing also sounded very fun. And then my mom said that my dad had offered to pay for my ticket if I did want to go, which was incredibly nice of him, and I was like, oh, well, okay, maybe that could be kind of fun. So it worked out. So after much like thinking about what I wanted to do during the day, I finally decided that I was gonna go. I was gonna be adventurous. I looked up where it was. It was about a 10-minute walk from the hotel because I didn't have I did have access to the car, but it was weird with the valet and I didn't know how it was going to work. So I could easily walk there, and that made it an easier decision. So I got all dolled up. I did my makeup real fancy because, like, if you go to a style con, you need to look, or like you kind of want to look fancy because you know that everyone else is going to be looking real fancy. Thankfully, I had a cute outfit planned that I had brought, so that was wonderful. And I felt really good about it. Did my hair real cute. It was wonderful. I walked to the place. I got my little lanyard that says, like, I don't actually remember what it said, but I have it. It's somewhere over there. But I got a cute little lanyard that says StyleCon on it with my little badge. And I also got a massive bag of free stuff, which was so much fun. And in addition to all the, like, the beauty stuff that I got in this bag, they were also giving out tons of free snack food. So whether it was, like, pea chips, which I discovered that I have a great love of. I had never had them before, but now I know that I do love pea chips. They were giving out stuff like that. They were giving out power bars. They were giving out, like, organic beef jerky, which was super cool. I never tried any of these things before, but it was very fun to be just like, it's free, that's super cool, I'm gonna try it, why not? They were giving out, like, green tea, like peach green tea in little bottles, and honey tea and all that kind of stuff. It was super awesome. Super, super fun. They had, like, panelists. It was all in one big room, so the panelists were at the back of the room, and they were, like, broadcasting their voices over the entire room, so thankfully you didn't have to be necessarily, like, sitting right in front of them to hear what they were saying. You could be walking around looking at the booths and stuff, and or wherever you could find a free seat, because seats were hard to come by sometimes, and hear what people were saying. So it was super cool. Very wonderful. If you have the chance to go to any kind of style con, or like a con that you were interested in, I highly recommend it. If you like that kind of thing, it can be very overwhelming, that is for sure. I was a little overwhelmed walking into it at the very beginning. It was just like a sea of people, and like vloggers, which was super cool to watch them vlog, and then booths and stuff, and people trying to sell you things. So it was kind of overwhelming at first, but like for me anyway, once I kind of like figured out a little bit what was going on around me, I loved it. It was like people watching out the wazoo. It was amazing. I had such a good time. So out of this big massive bag of wonderful things that I got a lot of like baby perfume samples. I got a ton of face masks, like the sheet face masks, which are wonderful. I got some like gummy fun vitamins for like your hair and your nails and stuff like that. I got like a little shampoo sample. And there are some things that, like, when I pulled out of the bag, I was just so excited about. I could not believe, because they're things that I wanted to try for so long, and then I got them for free. It happened, and it was amazing. So I'm gonna show you those things now. If you're not interested in this, I'm sorry, I do apologize, but I think I'm recording this out of order. I'm recording this before my knitting, but I think I'm going to end up putting this at the end. So if you're watching this at the end, it's almost over, so don't worry about it. Anyway, so first off is some dry shampoo. I don't know about you, but I love using dry shampoo. I know a lot of people just really like using dry shampoo for multiple reasons, whether you haven't washed your hair, which I haven't washed my hair, I used it this morning, or you just like adding texture to your hair, or it just smells good. This one smells good. Granted, the other dry shampoo that I was using also smells good, but it didn't have like a specific scent. So this is the Baptiste dry shampoo. I believe this, whoa, someone's taking out the trash. This is Baptiste. I I believe this comes from, it's originally from the UK, and so it recently came to the US. I honestly don't know. All I know is that I've wanted to try this for a very long time, have not been able to, and my dreams have come true. It's very wonderful. It says instant hair refresh. The scent is fruity and cheeky cherry, which is super cool. And it's just basically, I was looking to see if there are any like descriptions of the fragrance, but there is not. It's just normal shampoo. Excuse me, we're talking about important things like dry shampoo. Please be quiet. It is super wonderful. I highly recommend any kind of Baptiste product. Though this is the only one that I have ever tried, I have a feeling the rest of their products are also very good. And I do now see that this says UK's #1 dry shampoo, if that will focus. Right there. UK's #1 dry shampoo. So, highly, highly recommend. I don't know what other scents they have, but I was given the cherry one. It smells amazing. It does the job really, really well, and it's just wonderful. So I highly recommend the Baptiste dry shampoo if you have access to it. Secondly, I mentioned I was given a lot of face masks, and I don't know about you, but I love a good face mask. They are some of my favorite things. So I pulled out 2 of the ones that looked most interesting to me. One of which I believe is in it might be Korean. I am not 100% sure, so if it is not Korean, I do apologize. But it might be Korean. I don't know. But anyway, the back is mostly in Korean, I believe. But anyway, it's a honey, a nutrition, and a vitalizing mask. It is a sheet mask, or maybe not. Oh no, I think it's just like a goop. Oh no, but it feels like a sheet mask. I have no idea. We will try it at some point, and we'll find out whether or not it is a sheet mask or not. This is the back. We have English directions down here, but this is the basic instructions that I cannot read, but that's just okay. So this is one of them. I'm very excited about it. I have never heard of this kind of brand before, so that's fun. I know that Korean beauty is a big thing right now, so that might also be why. The second one, you might have seen pictures of this face mask because it is pretty funny, and it's also very popular on the internet. And I also don't know if this is like the one that everyone is trying or if it's just a type of one, but it's one of these detox bubbling masks. So if you've seen pictures of, it's not a good representation, but if you've seen pictures of people with face masks on where their face is like gray and there's like bubbles and puff and everything all over their face, that would be a bubbling mask. And I've never tried one. I've always wanted to try one, and now I have my chance. So apparently you do step 1, which is the detox bubbling mask, which it will cleanse and detoxify with natural ingredients. So that's exciting. You do that, and then you do step 2, which is the microfiber mask, which I believe is the sheet mask. The microfiber mask will feed the skin with various nutrients hydrolyzed. I don't know what that word means. Collagen and plant-based stem cells to give your skin a healthier, younger looking glow. So I'm very excited to use this at some point because yay for face masks. So this was very unexpected. There are just so many random masks that we were given that are just kind of like, that sounds like fun, let's give that a shot. I'm excited to try this. So lastly, this was probably one of, besides the dry shampoo and all the options of the masks, this was probably the thing that made me the most excited because I was legitimately thinking about buying this at some point, and like I wanted to do it soon because I've seen makeup tutorials with this, one of my favorite makeup YouTubers. She loves this stuff. And I was like, I need to get some. That would be really wonderful. And then I got it for free in my bag. And I was like, I can't believe this is happening. Anyway, moving on. What is it? This is the Physicians Formula Butter Blush in the color Vintage Rouge. I thought it was Vintage Rose, but whatever. That is the back. So that is the back. It's the butter blush. It smells like flowers, people. It smells like lilacs. It smells kind of like jasmine. Oh, it just smells so good. It is beautiful. I highly, highly recommend this blush. I think they come in other shades, so if this shade is not like your cup of tea or whatever, I think they have other options. But it is super creamy. It blends super well. I've also used it as an eyeshadow, so it works both ways. Also, the butter bronzer is also top notch. So I highly recommend that as well. That did not come in the bag, but I've been using that for forever. So I highly recommend that. And the butter blush. Yes. So that is it for shenanigans. Hopefully I will remember to put this at the end of the podcast, in which we will now go into the end of the podcast, but I do hope you enjoyed that. I hope it wasn't too boring. I hope I didn't ramble on about that too long, but it was super fun. I'm so glad that I went, and yeah, it was just a blast. So much fun. So I think that is it for this week. With all the knitting and the shenanigans and the weather and the non-reading and the non-baking and all that kind of stuff, that is it. Again, apologies for not having an episode last week. It was a much needed rest week, and I feel much refreshed and rejuvenated, and I feel really good about this episode, so that is always a good thing. So yay. Again, like always, just to refresh your memory, like I said at the beginning of the episode, all the various things that I've talked about will be linked in the show notes, which you can find on my blog, or that'll be linked down below. I have lots of social medias you can follow me on, but Instagram is definitely the most popular, or not popular, but I'm most active on there, I should say that. But besides Instagram, there's Twitter, Ravelry, and Facebook, and then Instagram. There's a Ravelry podcast group that you can go and join, but I'm very bad at posting in. It's something I need to get better at, but I have not. But there is one, if you'd like to join it. If you go to Ravelry and click on the groups tab and search the Cat Knit Podcast, it should pop up. And then also, there is an online yarn store where you can buy some yarn that I have hand dyed. That is the catnightyarnstub.pigcartel.com, and that is it for that kind of stuff. I hope you had a wonderful week and that you continue to have a wonderful weekend. If you have crafty plans, I hope they are successful. We are planning to have a very quiet weekend this weekend because we've been super busy during the weekends, which is like super wonderful. It's been so much fun, but we need a low-key weekend. So I'm excited about that, just so we can hang out and yeah, just enjoy each other's company, watch movies, eat pizza, knit, whatever, read, the fun things. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully I'll have a lot of knitting content for you next week, and who knows, I might have cast something on. I might have caved. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But yes, thank you so much for watching this episode. If you are a returning viewer or a new viewer, I really appreciate it no matter what. You can like this video if you liked it. You can subscribe if you want to see more of my videos, episodes, whatever. So with that, I will say goodbye because that is it for this episode. It is good to be back. It is good to be excited about knitting again because I'm super excited about it, and future knitting, just so much possibilities. So many that was said incorrectly. So many possibilities, so much fun. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. But either way, I'm sure you guys understand because I make these mistakes all the time and you guys are so nice about it. So, yes. With that, I will say goodbye before I ramble on too long. So, I guess I'll see you guys next week. Bye.